Well, folks, welcome back to Conversations of Faith, Hope, and Resilience with Emily. This is part two. So, in part two, we delve into 2.0. What I mean by 2.0 is Emily said, she'd written on her website that she felt like there were two Emilys, one before the accident and one after the accident. So, in this episode, in part two, we focus on after the accident, how life changed, lessons learned from the accident, and how it changed perspectives and what we both do. So stay tuned. You'd hear how both of our lives changed after an adversity that was supposed to end the life, how we flipped to the next page and started living again. Stay tuned for this exciting conversation. Let's go back again and speak with Emily. Okay, so hi again, Emily. Now we're back into after the recovery phase. I remember you said, I was reading something on your website and you said you felt like now there were two Emilys, the one before the accident and the one after the accident. You see, I did my research well. So can you tell us more about the Emily after the accident, maybe a bit in contrast to the Emily before the accident and the highlights, the
Yeah,
major changes?
totally. Well, props to you for doing your research. Yeah. And
Thanks.
I think that was one of the the things that was like really scary for me after I got out of the hospital, this feeling of there being two Emilys. Like I had never experienced that before, but like it literally felt like I knew who I was. Like it was the Emily before that helped me get through the my accident and recovery and whatnot. But like because of that, like and not just visibly how I looked different, I felt like I had this completely different experience and I didn't know like what necessarily like I wanted this future Emily to look like, but I knew I had this feeling that I could make this Emily like whatever I wanted. So that inherently this belief that like I could be anything I wanted and like just feeling like I know it sounds crazy, but I literally I remind myself now, but right after my accident, it really was super tangible, the sense that I could do anything, be anything I wanted because I had just gotten through the worst thing imaginable to me. So if I could get through that, I could do anything. So then it was just kind of figuring out like, okay, well, like what is my purpose? Um, and I think it just became clear to me that I wanted to figure that out because life can be taken from me so quickly. Um, so that was one of the main things that I got. Yeah, I'm curious about you too because like you literally wrote a book like and like I don't know if that was ever in your cards before, but like yeah, how did you get to that point of like now like sharing your story? Like I'm sure there was a lot in between too.
No, so the main reason for writing the book was just to share the story with other people and so that they can also be encouraged. And a book is a way to share it with other people. It's one of the ways. I've shared this several times and even on my previous ones that, I've never been to Australia, but just this year, I think a few weeks ago, I had a colleague who lives in Australia send me a message and said, "Hey, I bought a copy of this book." Um, and I've never been to Australia, but the book has been there. Um, but I think for me, basically, one of the highlights, the biggest highlight is um, possibility. Possibility these days. You know, um, Basically what I had, and in my part of the world, what that was, it was basically a death sentence. Because I had three things that could all, I had inhalational injury, so I needed a ventilator to breathe, and that alone was enough to finish me off. This was in the midst of COVID-19. 39% was enough. As well, 39% of my total body surface area covered in burns was also enough to finish me off, and I still survived. So one of the things that has stuck with me these days is I believe every situation I can get out of it. I believe I can get out of every dire situation, and I feel like I'm more of a I run hurdle races these days. Do you remember the hurdle race?
Like
You know,
in track, like when you're like jumping over.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so you have the 100-meter dash where they just go straight, there are no obstacles, and they just go through. And then you have the hurdle race, and you see it and you just jump over it. And that's how I live life these days.
Mm.
So if I see it's an obstacle, I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, I just need to get to the finish line. So I just jump over that obstacle and get there. And it's also helped me with focus. So to start with, there's the belief that if I went through that, I can go through anything. So if I'm running and I see the obstacle, it's just another hurdle. I just need to jump over it and move. And then I get there and there's another hurdle and I just need to jump over it and move. Um, I didn't know I was actually going to share this, but and it's not to put anybody in trouble, but there was one time we had to shoot a video, and all of a sudden, a few hours to shooting the video, we found out that the venue was unavailable because of some challenges. The equipment was going to be unavailable, and maybe the old me, I would have thought, let's postpone this. Let's postpone this to next month. But I thought, there's a way. I just need to think on my feet. We need to be able to do this today. So then I start calling other people. Hey, do you know someone who can be available to do this for me? Do you know, then, and the other person says, okay, just wait, I'll do a few calls. And the guy just goes on and comes back and says, okay, yeah, I know this person. I'm like, okay, do you have a venue we can use? And this was all the same day. The peer before the accident would have probably said, okay, let's put this on hold. Let's look to next week. Let's look to next month. But the peer now just saw it as a hurdle that needed to be surmounted, and just kept my mind on that goal, that I need to shoot, I need to get to the finish line, just jump over this hurdle. If another hurdle comes up, I'll jump over it. Now, it's not to say that I'm not in touch with reality. I get in touch with the hurdle and I'm like, okay, so what do I need to do? It is a hurdle, it's an obstacle, but what do I need to do to get over it?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I really like that image. I'm gonna use that now, like these like hurdles, and like I feel like you could so easily, like maybe the Pierre before would just like skirt back and like be like, no, I'm not jumping over this hurdle, or like it's there, so I'm not even gonna try. But now I hear what you're saying. You're like, there's still work to put in. Like when you were talking about that shoot, you still had to do a lot and think on your feet, and I'm imagining like some nerves going into that too. But you figured out a way. Like you knew there was a way, and you kept taking action to do that. And I think that's what it kind of feels like it's all about for me afterwards. Like I'm sure I'm gonna face setbacks. There's gonna be more like, and I'm gonna feel nervous and scared sometimes, but I'm gonna remind myself that like I can get through this. There is a way, and maybe it's not the same path every time. Like maybe sometimes I need to take different turns to get to a place, but I think I maybe can approach things a little bit more like calmly and
Yeah.
with an optimism that I had before, but I just was like even more so now, I believe. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna use the hurdle thing. Like I said, it's sticking with me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, tell us more into about your recreational therapy. I mean, now that's what you are. You are a recreational therapist. How did you get into that? Sorry, let me say it properly. You are a certified therapeutic, th- a certified therapeutic recreation specialist. How did you get
yeah.
into that? I think that's not what
Well,
you did initially in university prior to the
no, not
accident.
at
So why
all.
did you?
Um, well, first of all, thanks for like yeah going putting the effort in to pronounce it right. Yeah. But I basically like yeah in the hospital like we are talking about in the last episode, just I had a recreation therapist, and about a year after my accident I was reflecting, okay, after I kind of continued my recovery, I was more physically recovered, mentally getting there too, and like I was like what do I want to do? And that was just something that was so beautiful to me, the moment with my recreation therapist in the hospital where she asked me like what I wanted to do, and I was like I want to get to ask people that question. I want to get people back to like enjoying life after they've gone through something. So I literally emailed the recreation therapist I had, and she told me about the school program she did. And I went back to school, and in August of 2024, I graduated with a degree, like kind of like had to study for an exam and whatnot. And now I'm, yeah, practicing, like you said, certified therapeutic recreation specialist. And what that means to me is I just love like talking to people, getting to know their story, and if they've been through something, or if they're in a state where they can't really like think of anything they used to enjoy or want to enjoy, just having them try something new, both as a way to enjoy life in that moment and build functionality, whether that's like mental, physical, spiritual even. Um, and I'm actually like now it's really cool. Like I'm getting to use it to help burn survivors too. In New York City, like I have these groups where we come together and do an activity, and I feel like it is essentially like the backbone of recreation therapy when I'm bringing these burn survivors together and we're all connecting as a community around an activity that's building confidence in ourselves, and we're having joy, we're building social skills as well. So, yeah, recreation therapy can take many forms, but I like its versatility and the fact that it's very like revolved around the person. Um, yeah.
But you said you went back to school, so which meant that that gives me the impression that prior to the accident, well, you did say you had come back to the apartment for lunch. So am I right to say that you had finished your bachelor's degree and you were already working and
Yeah. So I studied environmental science for my bachelor's degree, and while I was I graduated in 2019, and I was working for I guess like about a year before my accident um, for a nonprofit in New York City on basically like using it was kind of different than what my degree was, but a little bit like using nutrition education as a way to kind of like help back people live like healthy and vibrant lives. So it after my accident completely changed my like career path. Um, yeah, so I'm grateful for that too. Um,
okay, so basically
yeah,
that accident made you go back to school to decide and if I get if and it's basically because you were so impacted positively by that recreational therapist that you thought this is what I want to do, and that made you go back to
exact.
school. How long were you
Yeah.
in school for?
It was like 2 years because it was like a master's program, but I was like working at the same
Okay.
time, just kind of taking like one or two classes at a time. And yeah, it really was that recreation therapist matched with like what I believe I could offer to the world. Because I think after my accident, it showed me like my strengths, and I thought that like recreation therapy was somewhere that I really like could shine and like share my strengths with the world and like allow them to then be able to kind of like a ripple effect and be confident and have the capacity to share their strengths with the world too with that profession. So it was kind of twofold. Um, and yeah, I'm curious, like for you, it sounds like you got back to like your same job before the accident, and like how
Yeah,
did
yeah, yeah.
like your life like was it like a new Pierre you brought to your job, or like how did that like work?
I don't know. Maybe you might have to ask my employers if it brought a new peer, but
Yeah.
but um, oh, that's a tough one. I haven't thought of that much. Also, it took me back to the same job, but I do it with a different mindset. Um, oh, so again, just before I fully answer that question, before while you were talking about you going back to school and doing like a master's program to do recreation therapist, which basically changed your line of work. It, I just remember the saying from Albert Einstein that adversity introduces man to himself. So, I mean, in your case, adversity introduces woman to herself.
Mm.
So that fire accident introduced you to yourself and made you realize that you wanted to do recreational therapist, be a recreational therapist instead of an environmental scientist, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's I that's a good quote because yeah, I think my accident truly did show me who I was, even though it was like really shaky at first afterwards. Like I felt like I didn't know who I was. Um, this is another thing I guess that I want to point out. Like recreation for me allowed me to see who I was. Like because after my accident, like I started to like run a lot, which is not something like I did a little bit before my accident, but afterwards I decided to start training for a marathon, which takes a lot of like long runs, and on those runs I felt like I could really connect with myself again in a way that not really another activity provided for me after my accident. So I felt like I was reconnecting with my breath and my body and processing some of the pain that I had gone through, and then continuing to work towards something that allowed me to see that, hey, like, yeah, not only is it a mentality, but you're getting to put it into action, what you're believing, that you can do anything. Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah. So I was just buying myself time to make up an answer
To
for
think a
the
little bit.
question
I
you
know
asked me. So now,
I got you on your feet with the question.
so now I think I have my thoughts a bit together. That's all
Okay,
I was
I'm
trying to
ready to
do.
hear them.
So I think, yeah, I went back to the same work, but it was with a different mindset. Um, One of the mindsets I think I have is I'm a bit more fearless. These days when I'm about to do something, I'm thinking, okay, uh, what's the worst that can happen? So I work in various projects. My company does, we do subsea installations on the seabed for various clients. And sometimes you need to make a request to the client. Sometimes you need to make a request to the subcontractor. Where my attitude has changed is that in the past, I would probably think and think and think it through and overthink it and try and think how it won't work and try and think of the negatives that might come out of it. But these days, I ask myself, how bad will it go? What's the worst that can happen?
Mm,
The worst is he will say no. I'm going to make a request to someone. The worst is they'll say no. Yeah, I won't die. That won't kill me. It's not like the person is going to take a gun and shoot me. What's the worst that can happen? That's one of the things. So it's for me, it's more of a mindset shift, and then as well, I've already spoken about the possibility issue, but what I've also realized, and I'm not going to say it's all positive, but I've realized I have a strong, growing impatience for people who I think are not positive minded.
mm,
I speak to people, and so people who are like who I was, and they see the reason why it won't work. That's all they keep seeing. All they keep seeing are the obstacles. That's all they keep seeing. They fail to see the finish line. I've realized I have a growing, burning dislike in me towards such people. So, so for example, let's say we're about to shoot this video, and you need to set up lighting, you need to make sure the mic is right, the camera is right. Again, I have a growing dislike when people say, "Oh, okay, the lighting is wrong." Well, the lighting is wrong. What do we need to do to make it happen? Can we
mm,
get a new light? How long will it take for us to get it? Um, is it if we shoot it like that? What's the worst that can happen? It's that growing dislike for negativity and strong focus on what's the end goal? What are we trying to achieve? I I remember last year I went to that was the program I went to in Phoenix, Arizona. It was a project management summit, and there was this ex-Marines who said you they were taught that you need to execute the intent of command. So commanders, the commanding officer has given an instruction. It's important to understand the intent of the instruction, not just the details of it. So the details might
mm,
change, but at the end of the day, this is what you want to achieve. And that's how it has changed me. I I like the details. I like to work details, but I also always want to understand the intent. So our intent here is to encourage people out there. The details is to get a nice video. The details is to get great sound. The details is to do it at this time of the day. But at the end of the day, the intent of what we're doing is to encourage people. The details are relevant, but the details can change. The intent is the most important thing. So when I'm going through my recovery phase, the intent is that all the wounds are healed. You have a full functioning peer who goes back to work, goes back to life, and is given back. The details are that one skin graft was supposed to have been enough. Then the wounds weren't healing. So we had to get a second skin graft. That's the changing of the details, right? Then after the second skin graft, I get discharged, I go home, I still have to be coming for wound dressings. Over time, some of the wounds start healing. And it was supposed to have gone that way, for some people it will go that way and then everything gets healed. But then there's another obstacle. Wound gets infected. I need to start taking medication. Some of them were injections. Some of them were tablets. These are all various changes in the details. But the end goal, the intent, is still to get fully healed, get all the wounds healed, and get Pierre back into life. So even after I was discharged, I had to go back into the hospital again for my final surgery. That is a change of a detail. But the end goal is still the same. It's supposed to get Pierre healed. That's one of the things for me. Of course, there's the frailty of life as well. That, like you said, you were fully working, just went in quickly during lunch break to get something to eat, and that changes everything. For you, it was the same as me. For me as well, I was also working,
Oh, really?
and in the middle of the day, I was going to get something to eat,
Wow.
and then everything changed. But so for me, I'm still doing the same work. I'm still in the same company, and thanks to my company, thanks to my supervisors and my line managers for keeping me employed. But now I do it with a different attitude. And I do it
Yeah.
with the attitude that everything is possible.
Yeah.
The details might change, but the end goal is the same.
It's like, seems like you'll be like even more of an asset now because not everyone has that to bring to a company or a group of people, like this ability to see the vision and
Yeah,
stick to
can
it,
you
even if the details
can
change.
you can you can you just say that again? I like the people I work with to hear that statement, just in case there's one of them listening and they
Yeah.
didn't hear it properly. Just
Oh,
just
yeah,
backtrack and
yeah.
repeat that again.
Pierre is an
Maybe I can I
asset,
can I,
right?
I can
Yeah.
negotiate a higher salary, So just
I think
if
you
you can
should.
repeat that
Like,
again, that would be great.
honestly, like I've used it. I've told like as I've applied for jobs, I've been like, hey y'all, like I just went through this thing, letting you know like this is everything I've done to recover, and I'm gonna bring this same mentality. So I actually think like you deserve a pay grade. Anyone who Pierre is working for, give him some
Oh,
extra
really?
money, because he's doing more for y'all than probably most people are. Um,
All right,
um,
just
but
Mr. Director, when we are marketing the videos, just make sure this is one of the shots that get in there. Do we have an agreement?
Well, I know we're talking a lot about like job and stuff like that, but like I'm super interested as well, like how your accident, like afterwards, like who you are now, like impacted just like your personal life and your relationships and your view on the world. Like, because I think what we're saying like can apply to jobs and other things too, but in what other ways like have you felt like you've taken on new perspectives of life, relationships, or just like personal growth because of um, who you are because of your accident.
Well, there's, I think, a new sense of urgency as well, in my personal life, because I realize it could end any moment from now. So it's not to rush things, but I try to be a bit more urgent.
Mm.
In relationships, I've learned to treat people well. Not that I used to treat people badly, but when I look back, if when I had the accident, my neighbors took me to the hospital, and actually I got this from a listener because I had the privilege to go on a radio interview on Joy 99.7 FM. That's one of the top radio stations in Ghana, and it's on YouTube. If you just type it, you'll find it. And so one of the listeners was later speaking to me after the interview, and she had gotten a book that was freely given to her on the show. And what she said to me was, these were in her words. She said, after reading your book, I thought, how's my relationship with my neighbors? Because she looked at me and realized that I was able to get hospital good care because my neighbors took me to the hospital and because they took me there on time. What if I didn't have a good relationship with them?
Mm.
What if they weren't ready to put in the effort to take me there? What if I'd probably had a bad fallout with them? Not everybody will get up and say, oh, I want to take this guy to the hospital. But it's made me realize that people are important and we all need someone's help. I need your help. I need the help of that guy there. And again, it's not to say treat people right because I know I'll need their help, but because we all need each other. And so when I see people in danger as well, I try to help them. Now, for example, when I'm on the road and I hear an ambulance, I hear the siren of an ambulance, I know a couple of years back that was me.
Mm.
Sometimes I say a prayer for that person, and I'm ready to give way for that person as well. So that's my new perspective on relationships, that they are important. Keep them, treat people right, treat everyone else equally, because everybody matters. Every single person matters. I had one set of neighbors that jumped into the house to try and quench the fire. Another set took me to the hospital. Somebody else called my family. Then I had total strangers who were just doing their job to keep me alive.
Yeah, I think that it's amazing that not only you are seeing the power of people come alive from how they helped you in your accident, but now other people are seeing that too. And I hope this message just reaches more people because I think so often we can think we're divided out to get one another, but I think in our moments of need, people will show up, especially if we're showing them in the day to day that we are all important, like you said, and it's all love. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I truly believe that we're all connected and can support one another. Um, Maybe we can't all jump into the fire to save someone, but there's other ways to show up for people. And I think that yeah, relationships are just something that and people in my life became even more precious to me. And I want to value the time I have with them even more after my accident because um, not that life is I think life is very long, but anything can change in an instant. And um, yeah, so
All right. Thanks, Emily. I mean, hey, there are two main things I picked. Adversity is not the end. It's probably the ushering into a new chapter. In Emily's case, I mean, in your case, it moved you. You went to school, back to school, did a new course. You actually found something else that you love doing, and now you changed a total career path. I'm still in the same career path, and but I'm doing it with a different mindset, with an upgraded version. And like you said, I'm an asset to my company and to everyone
yeah,
else who works with
don't
me.
forget it.
Uh, yeah, yeah. But thank you for your time. I'm grateful that you agreed to do this with me. I'm glad we got to do this. We started talking months ago, but yeah, here we are.
um,
I believe you've been inspired. I've been inspired as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. Yeah, it's always rejuvenating to talk to a fellow burn survivor, and especially someone like yourself. Like you said, we've been talking for months now, and just to see this come to fruition. And I hope one day I can visit Ghana and meet you. And next time in the U.S., I'm hopeful that maybe we can make things happen for meeting each other in person too. But thank you for having me on and sharing your story and letting me take part in sharing mine on this podcast as well, or video.
All right, guys. So, well, all too soon we have to end this recording here. I was excited having this conversation. The sobering truth that relationships are important and we all need each other. That adversity doesn't have to be the end of our story. In Emily's case, she found what she really wanted to do. She found a new purpose and moved into a different area. In my case, I went back to the same work I do with a different attitude, with more like Pierre 2.0. Again, as I said earlier on, we are burn survivors. Your challenge may not be burns. It may be a lost business. It may be a lost relationship. It may be the death of a loved one. It may be a loved one who is terminally ill. But my hope is that you draw some strength and inspiration from these discussions, conversations of faith, hope, and resilience. Just remember that truly there is no depth too deep for God to reach. And there is no situation that is so hopeless that He cannot turn it around. He's able to do everything. With God, all things are possible. Thank you.